Fundraising is a difficult thing always. And when you're trying to raise money for something as improbable as a new car company, it's even harder. And people ask me a lot, how did you raise that money? And I guess the answer to that is simply just to aggressively follow all leads. We showed our business plan, we showed our prototypes to everybody who would listen. And eventually we're able to raise money when we needed to. And this follows also for suppliers and employees. It was just as difficult for us to hire people to come work at our company, for example, as it was to raise money in a time when everybody knew that electric cars didn't work. Okay, so we continued doing durability testing. We put the cars on the public roads for the first time for road testing. And in November of 2007, I was, invited to leave my own company. Oops, let me back that up here. This was a bit of a surprise to me. I was CEO of the company, founder of the company, and suddenly booted out of my own company, something maybe the entrepreneur's lot. And I've thought about this a lot. And so, when you raise money from a venture capital firm, the motivation of the investor is very clear. They want to make a certain amount of money over a certain period of time, and their behavior is very predictable. This is not the case with individual investors. When you take money from so-called angel investors, their motives are more complicated. They may be, for example, motivated by fame and glory. They want their name associated with the new product and not yours. Summer 2008, Roadsters were being delivered. I took delivery of my own Roadster. And people ask me in these days, what good can come from a $100,000 sports car? If you're trying to change the world, why did you start making a $100,000 sports car? So let's remember where we are. In 2003, there were two things that everybody knew about electric cars. One, they suck, and two, they're dead. In 2008, with the launch of the Tesla Roadster, every major car company in the world announced that they too would one day make an electric car. And as an example, General Motors announced the upcoming launch of their Chevy Volt. Now, remember what General Motors had said. They had said there simply weren't enough customers at any time to make a business for them. In 2007, Bob Lutz from General Motors said, when Tesla announced they were building a car, that kind of tore it for me. I thought, if some little West Coast outfit can do that, then we can no longer stand by. So General Motors said straight out that they created the Chevy Volt as a response to Tesla. Today, almost every car company in the world offers an electric car or two. Some of them are more serious than others, but they are for sale again. In fact, even here in Milano, I saw electric cars. Maybe not the kind that would inspire us, but they are coming. Okay, so again, repeating, do something worthwhile. So to me, so despite what happened to me and losing control of my own company, I look back and say, the Tesla experience was absolutely worthwhile. We changed the world. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about my brief time at Volkswagen. After leaving Tesla, I spent a bit of time at a venture capital firm, and then I went to work for Volkswagen, working on an electric car program from them. So, quick recap of Volkswagen. Volkswagen is one of the largest corporations in the world. They have 12 major automotive brands. They have a footprint everywhere in the world where cars are purchased. They have a small technology outpost in Silicon Valley where my office was. I was hired to work on the battery program for a prototype car by Audi. I hired a small team in Silicon Valley, and I worked very closely with Audi's team in Ingolstadt. We developed what I think was the best automotive battery ever developed at Audi. The first thing that was clear to me is that Volkswagen has absolutely superior engineering and manufacturing ability. There's no question about it. They know how to build these things. 100% of the profits for Volkswagen Corporation come from the sale of internal combustion engines. And any kind of sales that they might do that would jeopardize that business scares them. Volkswagen very much does not consider itself to be an innovator. They consider themselves to be a fast follower. Their idea is to wait for somebody else to figure out how to build things, and then once it's solved, they will quickly learn how to do it themselves. And perhaps for this reason, their EV technology in the cars they sell is lagging. Volkswagen made it clear to me that their way of meeting emission standards and fuel economy standards was with the idea of clean diesel. Even then I said that clean diesel seemed a bit like an oxymoron to me. And I would say that current events in Volkswagen may change this strategy. Okay, just looking forward a little bit, there's a lot of new technology coming along that I think is exciting, and I'm just going to point out a couple of them that I find to be interesting. First of all, computation power is no longer a limitation. I mean, we hold in our hands and our smartphones more computing power than existed on Earth when I started my career. Cheap sensors are everywhere. The number of sensors and the ability to sense the environment is dramatically improved very recently. And then I think laser technology is also becoming really, really interesting. So just looking at a couple of these things, if you combine lots of sensors with lots of computing power, you get this idea of big data. And big data brings all kinds of interesting ideas, including the ability for us to deeply understand the impact of global warming on our environment. Also, sensors combined with computing power bring us the ability to make autonomously driven cars. Now, I'm not actually sold on the idea of autonomous driving yet. I'm a little nervous about these. I think about Google, for example, with their self-driving cars. And I think about, has Google made any other software that doesn't have any bugs, that doesn't crash? I haven't seen it yet, so I'm a little nervous yet. Lasers combined with compute power give us the ability to do 3D printing. And 3D printing of metal allows you to make things that would otherwise be unmanufacturable. So these are a couple of ideas I think are interesting. Now, you could do some, with this technology, do some other crazy things. For example, you can print handguns. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. You can take those goofy little electric cars and make them autonomous. And you can even print plastic underwear. And I guess just because something is possible doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good idea. Okay, so just to summarize some of the concepts I've brought up, it's most important to do something worthwhile. Do something that you really, really care about and that makes a difference. You need to chase those crazy ideas you have, but at the same time, make sure that you're solving a real problem. Be bold. Do the most outrageous things you can, and maybe a little naivety in the beginning to get you there. But ultimately, you need to think your idea through and figure out how to make a business out of it. Facing reality is important. Do this early, do this often. Remember that building the companies is as important as building the product. You need to hire the very best people and aggressively follow all leads. And finally, understand your investors' motives. And with that, I'd like to say thank you. And if anybody has any questions.
All right. So I think we saw a lot of interesting topics here. I really love the idea that, you know, it's not only finding a crazy idea, but you have also to be realistic about that.
That's right, yes.
That's very important. We have a lot of young guys here. If you should give just one suggestion, you know, what your best tip for these guys that they want to launch something and you know, do a startup or something, among everything you say, what would be the most important thing when you start?
I would say be bold. I would say take the crazy idea you have and run with it.
All right.
Yes.
So go with that. And your next projects? What's coming next for Martin Eberhard?
So right now I am investing in many small startup companies,
right,
and have joined several boards of directors and mentoring other startup companies.
Okay.
I don't want to say what my own next thing is going to be because it's not clear yet.
Very good. Just a final question that I was curious about. I read recently that one of the next frontiers is a $1 trillion business. It's like multi-planetary travel, you know, a lot of people going for it. Richard Branson, for instance. Is a topic that is crazy enough for you, or not?
Well, I think this is fun and exciting. I'm not sure how much that's going to change the world of getting people to jump up in space for a while. Space exploration is fun, but I don't know.
Okay.
No.
Very good. Martin Eberhard, thank you so much, Martin. Thank you so much.